Welcome to NFL Nexus. Today, we're not just looking at headlines, we're putting on our detective hats to uncover the hidden blueprint behind the Washington Commanders' offseason, a plan that's being meticulously crafted by their new general manager, Adam Peters. All right, so here's how we're going to break this all down. First, we'll lay out the new philosophy taking shape in Washington. Then, we're going to dig into the nitty-gritty, the foundational moves they're making in the trenches. After that, we'll get to the exciting part, exploring the possibility of a major new offensive weapon. And finally, we're going to connect all the dots to reveal the grand long-term design at play here. You know, to really get what's going on in Washington, you can't just look at one transaction here or there. It's not about a single player. It's about seeing the pattern, the blueprint that's finally starting to emerge. Every single move they make tells a small piece of a much larger story. And that's our mission today, really. We're going to focus on the why. We're going to treat this whole thing like a detective story, looking at each signing not just as a name on a roster, but as a clue to the new philosophy that's taking shape. Okay, let's dive right in. Look, every great team, and I mean every single one, is built from the inside out. You win and lose games right there, at the line of scrimmage. And the very first moves of this new era show the Commanders are taking that old saying to heart. They're not starting with some flashy skill player, nope. They're starting by re-signing 2 veteran defensive linemen. Now, on the surface, bringing back Dietrich Wise Jr. and Shai Tuttle, it might seem like, minor depth signings, the kind of news that barely makes a ripple. But when we look closer, when we really dig into the journey each of these guys took to get to this point, it reveals a crystal clear strategy of calculated, low-risk, high-upside moves. And that is the bedrock of this new blueprint. So just take a look at Wise's career path. This isn't some rookie, right? This is a veteran who clawed his way up in that super competitive New England system to become a full-time starter. He knows what winning culture looks like. He comes to Washington for a fresh start, a chance to prove himself all over again, only to have it ripped away by a season-ending injury just 2 games in. I mean, that's just a devastating setback for any player. So this is the big question, isn't it? Why would you commit to a guy, a veteran, coming off a major injury like that? Well, the answer seems to be twofold. First, the coaches and the front office clearly saw enough in that very short amount of time, in camp, in those 2 games, to believe in the player and his character. But second, from a pure strategy standpoint, the injury actually creates an opportunity. A healthy Dietrich Wise might have gotten a multi-year deal somewhere, but his injury lowered his price tag, and that allowed the Commanders to bet on the player he was before he got hurt, offering him what's basically a second chance at a first full season. And that's the beauty of it. This move is structured perfectly for both sides. It's a classic 1-year prove-it deal. For the Commanders, it's incredibly low risk. There's no big long-term money tied up. It gives them total flexibility. And for Wise, his motivation is going to be through the roof. He's playing for his next contract, for his career really, and to prove he's still that starter. It's just a smart, efficient way to add a motivated vet to that D-line. Okay, now let's check out his new teammate and see how this all connects. And if you thought Wise's path was interesting, Shai Tuttle's was even more of a whirlwind. I mean, he starts the year in Tennessee, he's in the rotation, he's doing his job, then bam, he's on the bench for a month, not a single snap. And then he gets put on waivers, which is basically the team saying, we don't need you anymore. This is where a sharp front office earns its money. The Commanders saw an opportunity, they claimed him, and he was on the field for their final 2 games. He was basically a late-season tryout who now gets a full offseason to really get up to speed. And this right here brilliantly illustrates the team's thinking. That term, full off-season, it sounds so simple, but it means everything. It means months of learning the playbook, not just trying to cram for a test in a few days. It means building real chemistry with guys like Jonathan Allen and Daron Payne in the meeting rooms, on the practice field. It's thousands of recs in a new system. The front office clearly saw enough in those last 2 chaotic games of the season to believe that with a proper off-season, Tuttle could be a really valuable piece. It's another low-risk, high-upside bet on the big guys up front. Okay, hold on one sec. Before we pivot to the really exciting stuff, adding some offensive firepower, if you're digging this kind of detailed breakdown, please take a second to subscribe to NFL Nexus and hit that like button. It honestly helps us so much to create more deep dives just like this one. And hey, let us know what you think about these defensive moves in the comments. And another great way to support the channel is by checking out our exclusive NFL-themed coloring books. Seriously, they're perfect for fans of any age. Kids, grandkids, and let's be real, for us adults too. The link is right there in the description, or you can just scan that QR code on your screen. Okay, we've covered the foundation. Now let's get to the fun part, adding a dynamic new weapon. So, with the trenches getting some much-needed, cost-effective attention, what's the next logical step in a rebuild? You got to add dynamic playmakers on the outside for your quarterback. And thanks to a pretty surprising turn of events over in Indianapolis, a perfect fit for the plan has just hit the open market. That's Colts wide receiver Alec Pierce. And due to a really complicated contract situation over there, a player who pretty much everyone thought was a lock to stay in Indy is now ready to see what he's worth in free agency. And listen to that quote. He's not angry. He's confident. He feels like he's earned the right to see what's out there on the market. And you know what? That confidence is well-founded. Pierce isn't some prospect you're just hoping pans out. He's a proven player coming off a career year. He just broke that 1,000-yard mark, which is kind of that golden ticket that separates the good receivers from the really, really good ones. That number, 1,003, it tells every GM in the league that this guy can be a major part of an offense. But here's the wild part. It's how he got those yards that's so compelling. He led the entire league in 2 huge deep threat stats, yards per reception at a crazy 21.3 and average depth of target at 20 yards. Just to put that in perspective, the league average for yards per catch is around 12. So this guy is gaining almost double the yardage of a normal receiver every single time he touches the ball. He doesn't just move the chains, he flips the entire field. And that's not just some buzzword, it's a specific role that completely changes the math for an offense. When you have a true deep threat like Pierce on the field, you force the defense to play honest. You make those safeties back up. That fear of getting beat over the top creates so much space underneath for everybody else. It simplifies the reads for your quarterback and opens up easy throws. It just makes everybody else's job that much easier. Of course, that kind of elite, game-changing talent, well, it comes with a pretty significant price tag. The projection for Pierce is somewhere in that $22 to $24 million a year range. And that's the number that makes you pause. Why would a team that's in a rebuild, a team making these smart, low-cost moves on defense, even consider paying top dollar for a receiver? Well, that leads us to the final and most important piece of the puzzle. So this is where we connect all the dots. Why invest in low-cost defensive depth with one hand and then potentially spend huge on a receiver with the other? I mean, it seems kind of contradictory, right? But it all makes perfect sense when you stop thinking about just this season and you start looking at the long-term plan. This is the key question. This is what every Commanders fan is wondering. What about Terry McLaurin? Scary Terry, the captain, the heart of this offense. Why would you bring in another alpha receiver on a massive contract? And the answer, like it so often is in the NFL, isn't found on the field. It's found deep inside the numbers of McLaurin's current contract. Okay, look closely at this contract breakdown with me. For this upcoming season, McLaurin's cap hit is about $24.5 million, totally manageable for a number 1 receiver. But look what happens next. In 2027, it balloons to $34 million. Then in 2028, it skyrockets to an almost unbelievable $39.5 million. The word is, those are numbers the team absolutely won't do. That makes him a prime trade candidate after this coming season. So here's the critical takeaway. Signing Alec Pierce isn't about replacing Terry McLaurin today. Not at all. It's about a forward-thinking succession plan. It's a chess move. By signing a 26-year-old star like Pierce now, you make sure that if and when you do trade McLaurin after this season, the offense doesn't miss a beat. You've already got your next number 1 receiver in the building, ready to go. And this right here just lays out the entire philosophy broken down into 4 clear steps. Step 1. Secure the trenches. Use smart, low-cost deals on vets like Wise and Tuttle to build a solid foundation. Step 2. Get younger and faster. Target players entering their prime with elite traits like Alec Pierce. Step 3. Prepare for the future. You make moves today that solve the salary cap headaches you know are coming tomorrow. And finally, Step 4. Maintain flexibility. Every single one of these moves is designed to keep the team agile and to make sure they're never backed into a corner by the salary cap. You see, this is what intelligent, modern team building actually looks like. It's disciplined, it's proactive, and it's always looking 1 or 2 years down the road. Now, only time will tell if these specific moves will pay off, but for the first time in a very, very long time, it feels like Washington has a detailed, coherent blueprint for success. The only question left is, will it work?